Hey guys, it's me, Geeky Sparkles, and it's just me for this video. But today we're going to talk about how a former Disney vice president at Walt Disney World has now come out and said what we told you for years now, which is Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger changed Galaxy's Edge from original trilogy to their movies, which we already knew, we talked about before, but now the media has finally picked it up. So now, it's true this time because they said it. But what they found out was, all the things that obviously were made to be original trilogy, like the At Walker in, Rise of the Resistance, the Admiral Akbar knockoff in Rise of the Resistance, the Millennium Falcon looking like it's in Docking Bay 94, Oga's Cantina was obviously Mos Eisley Cantina. All those things that were clearly based on original trilogy, they changed to their Batuu story and their sequel trilogy. Was because Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger thought that they knew better about Star Wars and they didn't want to cater to the 50-something-year-old fans. Well, those 50-something-year-old fans and their kids and their parents and the people that have loved Star Wars for, 50 years want to have a word, So here we go. Before we get into any further, please like and subscribe. If you do, I will give you a woohoo, and we're going to talk about this. So, Fox News has a quote from, let me look who it is. It was a former vice president at the Walt Disney World. Let me see. His name is up here, Dan Cockerell, which I've heard of. Yeah, I've heard of him. I know who he is. Yeah. So he was talking to them and he gave them this statement. He said, "We got a call one day. They said, well, we got some news for you all." And the Imagineering guys, they've heard that line many, many times during their careers. And I had never been through this. And they said, well, yesterday, Bob Iger met with Kathleen Kennedy, who, as a lot of people may know, was sort of George Lucas's protege and headed up Lucasfilm. And they had a conversation. They had a meeting. And Kathleen Kennedy, her point of view was there are way more Disney Star Wars stories ahead of us than behind us. So we really should think about, do we want to build a Tatooine? Yes, you should have built a Tatooine. And build what all the 50-somethings remember Star Wars is? Or do we want to do the building something which is going to appeal to all of our upcoming generations who are going to know the new stories? Force is female. No. Everybody wanted the original trilogy. The reaction when they're saying they're going to bring characters back and they're going to bring original trilogy into Galaxy's Edge has been mostly positive, except for the people that are like, hey, we already checked out. Because since Disney bought Star Wars, you somehow managed to take a evergreen brand with decades of fan goodwill and you flushed it down the toilet within 10 years. Not even 10 years. You haven't even had a movie in theaters since 2019. And quite frankly, Mandalorian and Grogu wasn't tracking great. Tickets are on sale. We'll see how it goes, but it's not tracking great right now. And I don't think it's going to. Starfighter may be a go if it depends on how good it looks, the story, and the fact that there's Ryan Gosling in it. People like Ryan Gosling and they like Project Hail Mary. That might be your Hail Mary. But unless you get Star Wars back on track, nobody cares. And even the diehards you had for years, myself included, my husband, we're just like, eh. You've literally created apathy out of complete passion. Good job. You know how hard you have to try to suck to make that happen? Well, you sucked plenty. So anyway, back in 2019, we told you the same thing because there was the Imagineer, J. Daniel Jenkins, who said on I forget what the podcast was, but there's a link through the blog if you go to piratesandprincesses.net. He was on a podcast. He called this back, and it was August, right before the Disneyland or Walt Disney World version of Galaxy's Edge opened. Now you have to remember when they were going to open Galaxy's Edge. First of all, they promised a bunch of stuff they didn't deliver. They promised all this immersion and all this other stuff that never happened. They tried to do it with the Galactic Starcruiser, but it was Galactic Starcruiser was a bomb. It was only open for like a year and a half, but they cut back a lot of things. And when they opened it, before that, Iger was like, "Oh, you just slap Star Wars on it, and they'll just be there." And it didn't do as well as they expected. I mean, I'm not saying it did poorly, but it didn't do great, especially after people went there and they're like, it's like a Moroccan flea market. It was really cool seeing the Falcon. I'm not going to lie. When you see that Falcon, I don't care what Star Wars fan you are, you will, like my heart, I was crying. That's the Millennium Falcon. I mean, I always wanted to be on the Millennium Falcon. Who didn't want to be on the Millennium Falcon who grew up in time with the original trilogy? It's right in front of you. It's flipping awesome. Inside, not so much. The traction is eh. It really is. Yeah, it is kind of cool to see the chessboard and all that, but the holo chess and stuff. But honestly, the ride itself is kind of mid. And now they're changing it to add the Mandalorian and Grogu into it because they have the movie coming out. Rise of the Resistance, the ride's kind of impressive, but it's all, you know, it's Disney Star Wars stuff. It's like the whole intro into it. It's Rey and R2 and all the characters in the movies talking. Nobody wants it. They wanted Han, Luke, Leia, Chewbacca, R2, C-3PO, Lando, you know, Admiral Akbar. That's what they wanted. That's why you have the walkers that are flipping awesome inside the attraction. Because Walt Disney World has like a full-size walker and an Ewok village outside of their Star Tours. I used to tell Kneon about it, and he grew up at Disneyland, and I grew up going to Disney World, and I kept telling him about it, and he was like, okay, whatever, until he saw it, and I was like, told ya. You know, I mean, the back's open, but it's supposed to be a replica. It's an AT-AT walker. It's really cool. They have these AT-AT walkers in the ride. They were not in the Disney sequel movies, but they're trying to put it in Mandalorian and Grogu, so they're going to try to reskin the Rise of Resistance to Mandalorian and Grogu, which would be colossally stupid. You want butts in the seats? You want demand? You make this stuff original trilogy, and people will probably show up. But I'm going to tell you, the caveat is a lot of people just don't give a shit anymore, because fool me once, you know, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Because it feels like you've already fooled them once, twice, 3, 4 times. And it's like they don't fucking care anymore. Shame on you. They don't care. You did it to yourself. Well, back in 2019, here's what Jenkins said. So there was this expectation of the original trilogy, which, you know, certainly I would say is probably equal with the expectations of the guests for Harry Potter. Yes, what you want to step into what you know. That was the biggest thing. We brought this up many times. Harry Potter, you go to the Harry Potter lands at Universal, and you are literally stepping into the movie, into the books. You go into Galaxy's Edge Batuu, and except for the Falcon, you're like, what the hell is this? You can tell that it was, you know, coded as these things. It was supposed to be something else, but you're not stepping into the movie or the, you know, or even the books. You're stepping into, you know, the Disney, part of the Disney sequel trilogy, but mostly it's just made up shit because they're like, choose your own adventure. LARPing's popular. We're going to make a made up planet with some recognizable stuff so you can pick your own adventure. And we're going to make it possible with this immersion that we never put in it. So you're just supposed to go in there and try to figure it out. So of course it's not as popular as Harry Potter. Jenkins continued. So you have those expectations. You have the physical limitations that we have to deal with of getting that park ready for such large expansions as Toy Story Land and Star Wars. And then the top of the storyline, the original concept for Star Wars Land was not going to be Batuu. It was going to be either 1 or 2 known planets within the Star Wars ecosphere, if you will. So by the looks of it, it was probably Tatooine and like Endor. It was what it was going to be. I mean, I would love to see Hoth, but, you know, it's Florida and California. Where are you going to put it? So they had been working, and I had been working on Star Wars Land and Toy Story Land simultaneously for a year. And Bob Iger basically said he had seen some of the early dailies from the sequels, and he said, now we've got to use the 3 new movies storyline. We're not going to be using the older 6 movies just because he saw how good they were going to be. But they weren't. See, The Force Awakens did pretty good. People were like me, who were like, I saw this movie already. It's called, you know, A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and maybe a little bit of Return of the Jedi in there. And they did pretty well with that, even though you had one job, which was put Han, Luke, and Leia together, and you effing didn't. I still can't, I don't understand. You have to try. You have to try to fail that epically. That's just like you had one job, the one basic thing you needed to do, and you didn't do it because you were so afraid that it was going to overshadow your movie. Well, because you didn't do that, by the time you got to The Last Jedi, people like me were like, okay, well, maybe we'll get some new stuff and it'll be exciting and fun. And instead, you start off with a your mama joke, sideline the main characters from the last one, except for Rey, make all these new female characters in there to be a foil to the male characters who are suddenly assholes for no reason, and then kill or destroy the character of Luke Skywalker. Destroy and kill the character of Luke Skywalker. That's basically what you did. And then after that, because you lost all your original audience and now you got your new fans, then you go to Rise of Skywalker and then you found a way to piss everyone off. And then you start having a win with The Mandalorian, and then you turned around and then made that all weird and then drug that out and pushed it too far. And now people are against it. So now they're not going to see The Mandalorian and Grogu because they're like, last season sucked. I don't really care about the show as a movie. It was a show. I'll just wait till it's on Disney Plus. You done screwed up. Your only way forward is to go backward. And even then, I don't know it's going to be as much as you want it to be. So here, Disney Parks blog. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge timeline expands at Disneyland. So far, they're only doing this at Disneyland. They're going to need to do Disney World also. So starting on April 29th, you're going to be able to hear the music, the original music, the John Williams score. You're going to be able to see different characters. There's Han and Leia. I mean, of course, they don't look like the actors, but usually their character actors don't. They've Leia Organa and Han Solo. They're not calling her princess, but she's Princess Leia. Sorry. Luke, and they have R2-D2. They're going to supposedly have Darth Vader, Chewbacca. They'll still have Ahsoka. They'll still have Mando and Grogu. But then on the outskirts, because they're doing different locations, but they said here, on the outskirts of the Black Spire outpost, you can still see Rey and the First Order. On the outskirts where no one cares, you can still see her there. They're also making some other changes. They're going to have the Cantina band will be in Oga's Cantina now. And they're going to try to make it more like Mos Eisley, which is what it was obviously meant to be. They're going to change some of the shops around. First Order cargo will be Black Spire Surplus. Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities is going to have different one-of-a-kind items from the past. So they're going to put original trilogy stuff in it, probably some sequel or prequel trilogy stuff in it. Droid Depot is going to have an older family of droids operating it. They're going to bring the projection show, Shadows of Memory, a Skywalker saga, on certain evenings. The Fire of the Rising Moons will be a different one with a fireworks display. So they're trying to go back to the original trilogy. They done effed up. Not only did they mess up with the parks, they messed up with the Starcruiser too. They made this Starcruiser as another, when it didn't work at Galaxy's Edge with Choose Your Own Adventure LARPing shit, they decided to go and make a whole hotel based on the Choose Your Own Adventure with their sequel trilogy stuff in it. All right, with Rey and Kylo Ren and different things in it that they tie it to their movies. And it was too expensive. And like, I'm sorry, their Force experience was like you could use the Force to jiggle rocks in the atrium. I mean, I'm sure people were jiggling their rocks, but it wasn't using the Force. If you're using the Force, you get arrested. So I'm just saying, like, you know, it was a big, dumb idea. It was too expensive, and you based it on the wrong stuff. So you instead of learning the first time, you did it a second time. Finally, you got rid of Bob Iger, and you got Tomorrow in there. And now Tomorrow's like immediately turning it back to original trilogy or taking it where it should have gone in the first place. Because it was obvious to everyone this was not working. But you can blame now 2 sources with Inside Disney have come out 6 years apart saying it was Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy's fault. We told you this before it even opened at Walt Disney World. It was already open in May of 2019 at Disneyland and August of 2019 at Walt Disney World. And we were telling you this before it even opened. So there you go. We were right again. It shouldn't be surprised to anyone. I mean, it's obvious when you look at this place. So what do you think? Comment and let us know, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.